And today, I got to tell you who our guest is. This lady I am really looking forward to talking to. Her name is Sandra Champlain. Did I say that right, Sandra?
Champlain, close.
Say it again.
Champlain.
Champlain. All right. And her book, which is entitled We Don't Die. Now, isn't that interesting? I've been thinking about something like that. I've been thinking about what it is like at the very end, and what is the next second like. And so hope we get a little bit into that, Sandra. And you have had an experience, is that right?
I haven't had a near-death experience. I had a fear of dying
Uh-huh.
that secretly just led me on a journey of, is there any proof of life after death? That's how it all started for me.
And let's get with Sandra. Okay.
I'm giggling, Dr. K, because you first talk about the chocolate coconut fudge.
Oh,
What people
yes.
don't know about me is, my life has not been about being an author. I own a chocolate shop in Connecticut. But my day job is I'm a chef, and I travel with race car teams. And just yesterday, this past weekend, I was down in Baltimore, not too far from you, cooking for the Grand Prix. And then you mentioned the Daughters and Dads book. The whole reason I wrote the book and actually got propelled in this whole journey is because of the relationship I had with my dad. So just mentioning Daughters and Dads, I mean, what a special bond.
Wow. That is what do you call that?
Synchronicity, the perfect guest, miraculous, all those things.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It all tied in together, didn't it?
It does. So I have
Oh,
a
my
big
goodness.
smile on my face as I sit here. I'm at home in my house in Massachusetts, is where I am, and with a big smile on my face.
Oh, all right. Oh, my husband was talking about coming up to Boston during the short weekend break, and I was saying, no way would I want to drive from Maryland all the way up there just for a couple of days or night. But just to think, that's where you are.
Yeah,
Massachusetts is beautiful.
There was lots of traffic, too, on the roads yesterday. So.
Is that right? Good. We didn't go.
You did. Another time.
That's right. That's right. And look, what surprised me about you when I was reading like the race car thing, the chocolate factory, the writing of a book about not dying, I said, wow, this lady is into lots of different things. Okay. But today we're going to focus on
about the book.
We Don't Die.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about what was going on in your life that kind of eventually led to that.
Yeah, it started with a fear of dying, and it was back in 1996, and of course I had lost pets. As a child, my grandfather had passed years before, and Kay, have you ever looked up at the stars and you just think of the vastness of the universe, and it just hits, who am I? What is my life for? What happens next?
I wondered if anybody else did that. I would have an awareness of me.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why am I here?
Why am I here? What's it all about?
Right.
And then naturally came what happens next. And unfortunately with me, it showed up as a fear. I just couldn't handle not knowing if there's life after death. I'm a Christian. I went to Catholic school all my life, taught faith, believe in Jesus, but I wanted tangible proof that I had nothing to worry about. And so very secretly, I went on this adventure of looking, is there any credible evidence? And I first started with all the different religions, the top religions I could get my hands on. And everybody believes in life after death, but still, where was the proof? And basically, at that time, I didn't find anything. And it just determined that if I could be the best person I can be, I guess I'll have nothing to worry about. Well, lo and behold, I ended up seeing a medium do a stage show. And for your listeners, the subtitle of my book is called A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death, because I was never anybody who believed in any mysticism. People would get their cards read, or go to a psychic or learn about the angels. And I just thought all that was hogwash. I would go into a bookstore and see that section and think, gosh, people need to get a life. None of that's true.
To the Dr. K Show. Today our guest is Sandra Champlain, and Sandra is talking to us about what she was leading into from her childhood while she was such a skeptic about what happened or life after death. And I think your last sentence was like, this was a bunch of baloney or something. And people were talking about angels and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And why did you believe that?
Well, I don't know why. I mean, I think we all have this voice in our head that says what's the truth and what's not. We all grow up, whether we call it an inner critic or somebody said it was negative Nancy. If we all stop for just 2 seconds and look for the little voice, many of us, your listeners, will hear, what little voice? Like it nonstop talks. Even when your mouth is shut, there's always a voice going on. And so that little voice is not us. I think it's a complex survival mechanism that all human beings share based on our past experiences, what our parents taught us, what we learned in church, what we learned with our own 2 eyes. Those things become the truth. And so my parents and just growing up, I mean, we never believed we believed in God and faith in Jesus, but not any mysticism or any of that sort of thing. So my little voice was saying, none of that's true. So I ended up seeing a medium do a stage show. I just went for entertainment with a friend. And Dr. K, she was so specific, talking to the people in the audience, not only saying who was with them, like your grandmother or your grandfather, but giving real details about who they were, what they did for a living. Your grandmother taught you how to knit, and you loved her tomato soup, and so specific. So my mind, I was still afraid of dying, and I started looking like these people must be plants in the audience. That was my immediate reason.
Yeah,
there had to be a reason.
That was me. I was thinking that too.
Yes, but then I was looking, well, why would there be plants? No one was trying to sell us anything. She wasn't pushing us to buy her book in the back of the room. Nothing.
Okay.
So after the event, me on my private detective search, again, not telling anyone, I found this woman in California. Her name is Dr. Doreen Virtue. She's a psychologist who turned medium after hearing voices in her head that were accurately telling people, like I said, the deceased people around others. And she offered a weekend course in mediumship. And the claim was, if you attend my course, you will effectively be able to tell the deceased people around others. So
really?
The inner skeptic is saying, there's no way that's possible. But my fear of dying was shouting, you've got to go, you've got to see one way or the other. Is it true or not? So I didn't tell anyone. I flew to California for a weekend, took a course with 20 people, and at the very beginning, Dr. Doreen said, I'm going to just give you an example of how medium readings are done. We're not going to do it now, but everyone grab a partner. Hold hands. One of you go first. And we're just going to play make-believe because we're not really going to do it. She says, sit knee to knee, hold hands, close your eyes. And I decided to go first because she says, all we have to do is use our imagination.
Right.
We're not really doing it. So she took all fear away that I had to do this medium reading. And she says, I want you to invent a person standing behind your partner. I want you to imagine that your hearts are connected by like an invisible energy, and it's a safe space. And she says, and we're just going to play now. So just make up somebody, maybe what they did for a living, what they looked like. Maybe a name comes to mind. And so being the creative girl that I am, because I'm a chef, I invented that, and I'm telling my partner this with my eyes closed. I said, well, your grandfather is with you, and it's your mom's dad, and he was a fisherman in Denmark. Because I saw a picture of a fishing boat in my mind and heard the word Denmark out of nowhere. And then I described him that his name was Jan, and he had a big gap between his front teeth, and he had blonde hair and windburned skin. Yeah, but I mean, I'm making this up, Dr. K. And that he died of lung cancer, and he never got to tell the mom, his daughter, this message, and, that he loved her and he was sorry for something. And so I opened my eyes and said, okay, it's your turn. And there were just streams of tears going down my partner's face.
Oh, my gosh.
Her grandfather's name was Jan. He was a fisherman in Denmark.
Oh,
he had the blonde hair, the big gap between his teeth, died of lung cancer, and the mother had never heard those words, and she had desperately wanted to hear them.
Oh, my gosh. How did you do that?
I don't know. And it was in that moment that suddenly I was open to the possibility that the world of mediums and psychics and things, that there was something to it. Now, I do believe there's still some con artists out there. I do.
Yeah.
But if I were able to do that just from my imagination, what else is possible? So I had a weekend of doing that, and we practiced, but I was only right maybe 30 to 40% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was right, I was right. I mean, really specific.
My.
And I think for all of us, I mean, so many of us, there's times where we might dream of someone who's passed, or we might feel their presence, or our imagination might tell us that, they're behind us or something. And I think that our imagination appears just as if those of us who are visiting, or, however I did that medium reading out in California, it's no different than our imagination. So I think we all have the ability, like people that are really great at the piano, some of those people out there that are great mediums, they practice, which I did not. But it opened me up to there is something to this, and then I wanted more and more
All
and
right.
more.
That's your research.
That's the beginning of my research, because then I got involved with the doctors, the near-death experience. People delved more into things like reincarnation, the whole world. And, for me, even telling this story, my voice is saying, oh, yeah, people are probably going to think, no, that's not real. It's not possible. But, again, that's the voice when the research is done. For instance, near-death experiences, there's a lot of people here, when we die, we see the white light and we go to the tunnel and our deceased loved ones are there. And many skeptics say, well, that's just what naturally happens when the brain shuts down. Period, end of subject. Well, doing research, I mean real research, not just on a few people that have had near-death experiences, but hundreds of thousands, including one man, his name was Ken Ring, who decided to study the near-death experiences of blind people who never had vision, ever. And when they would see the light and their relatives would be there and things, they were given vision for the first time. And they could accurately tell who was in the waiting room, what color clothes they were wearing. They could read name tags, and they've never had sight before.
Wow.
Exactly.
This intrigues me. It always has.
There's a bunch. And I didn't want the book We Don't Die to be just my experiences. I wanted to pull in who are the founding fathers, who's involved in all the different studies. There's a doctor that works with the VA hospital that does something called EMDR. It's eye movement desensitization something. I forgot the last thing. But our veterans that have the post-traumatic stress disorder, he has worked with them as far as when they have real heavy grief when they served in the armed forces and the pain. And there's something about an eye movement that he administers, having them look left and right, a series of back and forth. And somehow, I don't know the whole science, but it dislodges the memory of whatever traumatic things they happened with the emotion. So it provides a lot of healing. Well, this man gave one too many of the left, right movement, and his patients started accurately telling him the deceased people that were around him. Like it transported them into a different place. Now, and he never believed in life after death, didn't believe in this either, but how are these people now telling him the names and details about his deceased loved ones? So he's now started something called induced after-death communication, where people that are trained in this, and there's psychiatrists and psychologists, are trained in this EMDR, can now help people relieve grief and believe in life after death. He's got practitioners worldwide. So I bring together everybody credible that is in the world of life after death in the beginning of the book.
Wow. I've got to tell you about a movie that I saw. I think I was in my early 20s or late teens, but my producer is saying we've got to go to break, and I might tell you during the break, and I might tell everybody else when we come back.
Oh, you left us hanging. Okay.
Okay. You're listening to the Dr. K Show on Radio 1240, WCEM AM, streaming at mtslive.com, and like us on Facebook. Welcome back to the Dr. K Show. Today, our guest is talking to us about we don't die when we die. And that was one way of saying it, wasn't it?
Our bodies die, but we don't.
Okay, our bodies die, but we don't. And Sandra and I were talking during the break, and I told Sandra about the movie that I saw. And I'll tell you just a little piece of the movie. I saw the whole movie, but I only remember this part. The guy was researching, the doctor was researching, does the spirit leave the body when a person dies? So he got a person that was right on the verge of death and had permission to have him on a scale, and a very sensitive scale. And when that person died, he just stayed there. When that person died, the scale got lighter and moved just a little bit. And that was the proof that he had that a person's spirit leaves their body when they die. And I never forgot that the whole rest of my life.
Can you also share what you shared about the kisses?
Oh, I was telling Sandra that we were talking about what other experiences that people have. And I told them that since the death of my husband, that you put it first, that you have a dream and it seems so real, and you wake up and you know that it isn't.
Right.
And I said, mine was real. It was really real. I was kissed on my forehead by my husband, and I felt the kiss, and waking up, it didn't go away. It wasn't like, oh, that didn't happen. He has hugged me, and that was real. Mm-hmm. And he touched my forehead, just the finger. The finger just was there, and the finger woke me up. So these are 3 experiences that I have had that I can't say, oh, that didn't happen.
And they're comforting, right? In your moments of pain.
Absolutely. They were not scary. I did not go, oh, ghosts or anything. No. It was like, oh.
Yeah. And something important for everybody, even myself, I mean, I'm just as human as anybody listening right now, is I keep bringing back that voice that's inside of our head. Mm-hmm. When we can quiet that voice, and it takes something, whether it's concentrating on your breath, or really, if you have a kitty cat on your lap, just concentrate on the fur under your fingertips, whatever that is. It's in the moments that our mind is quietest when we can access the hereafter. And sleep is one of those times. And so it's easier for them to come through when our mind is relaxed. And we are all made up of energy, Dr. K, mm-hmm. all of us. And mm-hmm. so I've had people who are really grieving hard and are like, I can't get through, that nobody's coming through, I just need a sign. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, and this is the second part of my book, is I actually address grief. And what is grief? Why must we experience it? And it really is something like when we are in love with someone or our pet, or even we grieve when we lose a job that we've had mm-hmm. for a long time, or mm-hmm. our health changes, we go through a change in chemistry in our brain. We actually lose some of our brain chemicals. And this might be a poor comparison, but I describe being in love kind of like someone who's addicted to a substance. Mm-hmm. And when we lose the person we love, it's like our body is losing a substance. So the withdrawal process kicks in, and we call it, when we lose a loved one or relationship, we call it grief.
Grief, yeah.
And so it's an automatic thing that our bodies must go through. We can't fight it. We can't turn it off. There are certainly things we can do to make ourselves feel better, get through it a little faster. But I want everyone to know and be compassionate with themselves that if you have lost someone, that where you are, as painful as it is, it's something that we must, the only way to get through it is to actually go through it. And there are things to do to raise your brain chemistry. I mean, one of my girlfriend, right before my dad died, it was a very, very hard time. And there were fights that started happening between my siblings and I. And even anger and arguments in relationships are all something that happens because of the grieving brain. We, people go haywire when there's a death that's just happened or one that's soon to be. And so my girlfriend Nancy brought me to a puppy store, of all things. And I'm like, I don't want to go. She says, you're coming with me. And so she, and it was a really, like a mom and pop pet store, and where you could lift the puppies out of their little cages. And I tell you, I was on the floor with a dog licking my face. And there's no way I could be feeling the grief of losing my father when I'm getting tickled through my ears with this little dog tongue and cute little face. And so that's one example. But even listening to your favorite music, being with people, it was very important for me. And I think the catalyst for me finally coming out with this book, We Don't Die, is when I learned about the grieving process. And I found out things that most people don't know about grief. And just to be a good Samaritan, I took everything I knew and I created a free audio called How to Survive Grief. And I posted it on the internet. It's still there, free download. Survivegrief.com is where it's held. And in a matter of just a few months, it went viral. 3,000 people in 15 countries started listening to it and sharing it. And I had only posted it a few times on Facebook. That's how fast it went. And people started writing me, Dr. K, that it helped their relationships with their family. It helped them understand. It helped them not to fight. People started responding that how much it eased their pain. And the final thing that I said, Sandra, get over what people might think of you. They might think you're crazy for believing in life after death. But Dr. K, people started responding that they chose not to end their own lives. There was a gentleman in Atlanta who heard my words and actually looked me straight in the eye. He said after his wife left him, he had never been so depressed. And he said he had actually planned his suicide. And he said, I listened to your audio, and he said, it was like you were talking to me, like you were in my head. And you had me realize that everything I was feeling was a part of grief. And then he followed the steps to get out of it, and then he reported back that he's now happily engaged, living his life. And he said, I wouldn't be on this planet without those words.
Oh,
So
right.
that's why, without a doubt, and a friend of mine says it's like putting medicine in with the dessert, that I strongly believe that we need to understand what grief is. So many of us know someone who suffered a loss, and to give, whether it's a book or let them listen to the free audio, to share that with someone and to help move them out of that pain. And then ultimately, the final bit of my book is, if we're not afraid of dying, then there's no fear of living. Certainly we have lots of fears, but what would it be like to know that fear might be an illusion, that we're never going to really get hurt, that even though our bodies die, we don't, our personality will go on, and how to live a rich, fulfilling life as a human being.
Oh, I like that. That. And then that goes along with this question that I have right here. It says, what purpose do you think life serves if we don't die?
Well, I believe there's a learning that occurs for our soul. I thought about this yesterday, and it made me laugh. But when we're living our life, you know how desperate we are to go on vacation?
Yes.
Okay, so we go on vacation. So say we go to Hawaii for a couple of weeks. And somewhere in the second week, it's kind of like, you start thinking about being home. Too much of a good thing is no longer a good thing.
That's right.
So many people I know live in these really great places, but they don't even, I know people that live on the ocean. The ocean's not special anymore, right?
Yes.
Whereas we get a vacation to go there. Wow. So I say, and this is being playful, that heaven or the hereafter is this great place for our souls where there's good, there's happiness, there's love, there's everything. But only on earth is the place that we're given the body, we're given the five senses, we get to really taste, really smell, really hear, feel the hug, all of that. Smell the favorite cologne or the Cinnabon when you're walking by one of those stores. And then this is the place where we get to learn. We get emotions. We get to have adventures. We need to have the bad so we can experience the good.
Oh, say that one more time.
We need to have the bad so we can experience the good.
Yes, because if you just had good all the time, you would just take it for granted, and there would be no excitement. You just couldn't enjoy it as well.
Right, and I don't have all the answers because my dad died a terrible death from cancer and suffering, and I've never witnessed anything like it. And I don't have the answer for why they're suffering. I don't have the answer for, all those kids that passed with the shooting in Newtown, Connecticut. I don't have the answers. But what I do know is that if we can be, I like to say, in the driver's seat of our life and not be a victim, to try to take every experience as looking at how is my soul learning, how am I growing, but that just makes a tremendous difference.
Absolutely.
I thought of something else I want to share, but I don't know if it's break time, so I don't want to jump in until you.
Oh, we got to almost go to break. She said, we got 3 minutes. I think we can do it. All right.
Well, here's the question I get all the time is, where is heaven?
Yes. Where is it?
Where is heaven? So I think the word hereafter is perfect, because if you can imagine a log that burns, it changes from the log to heat, and the log disappears, but the heat remains. When our bodies die, our soul is still here, just in a different form, hereafter. Now, anywhere you are right now, if you're listening to this and you're driving in your car, you're not connected to any kind of wire, and you're hearing Dr. K's radio show. Okay, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's happening invisible to our eyes, but it is real. So our wireless internet that may be around us, or the telephone signal connecting your cell phone to another person's cell phone, or the radio waves, they are proven, they are real, and we cannot see them. Our loved ones are in the same place. We turn into energy, no different than that log burning. It changes form of energy. Our energy can live on top of other energy. Like, we're inhabiting the same zone as the wireless internet. The hereafter is really here, just after. But it requires a quiet mind to access them.
Wow.
Or for them to access us.
My goodness. And that kind of, it does. It touches the thoughts that I've had in my mind. It's like you're just in being a science teacher, energy is not something. I'll come up with it. It just changes from one state to another.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. What we got? 30 seconds, 60 seconds? Oh, we got 30 seconds now. Energy is never changed or made or formed, but it changes from one form. I don't know. I'll get it. And
it never disappears.
It never gets scared. Okay. We're going to break now. And you're listening to the Dr. K Show on Radio 1240, WCEM AM, streaming at mtslive.com, and like us on Facebook. Welcome back to the Dr. K Show. Today, our guest, Sandra, is going to talk. Well, she has been talking to us about We Don't Die. That's the title of her book, and that's the title of today's show. And she was showing us evidence that she has had through her life, through her research, through her findings, that life isn't just over when that great day comes, and that we need to have a better, more positive attitude towards it. And she said that her book is mainly to help us to the point where we have no regrets when the end comes. And that's where we're going to start. So I'm going to let Sandra spend as much time as she likes telling us what's in this book, what we can expect to get from it, how we can get a hold of it, what she wants us to know. Okay, Sandra?
Oh, that's wonderful. I don't ever want to get off this show, but I have to. So let me continue. You're just so warm and wonderful, Dr. K. What a difference you make to your listeners.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's really been a pleasure being here.
Oh.
Okay, back to your question, though. It is a common thing for people to pass away having regrets. And I had spoken with a heart surgeon who has done thousands of operations, successful ones, but just his final meeting before talking to the person before they go under, they have regrets, what they should have said, what they shouldn't have said. They're thinking about their family. They have faith suddenly. They're worried about the afterlife. And I thought, what would it be like if we could live life now and not have regrets, so that the moment we take our last breath here on earth, and and this is what I say. I had asked you earlier during the break, have you ever had a dream that seems real, but then you wake up and it's like, wait a minute, that was just a dream? Well, when we pass from this life to the hereafter, it is the same thing as waking up from a dream. It is closing your eyes here on planet Earth and opening your eyes in some place that is so much more real than, and it'll make Earth seem like it was just a dream. Yes, you'll be reunited with your loved ones. There'll be beautiful colors that don't even exist here, things that we get to experience that we don't experience with the body. And so to live a life free, there's three fears that all human beings share. It's a fear of dying, that's one. There's a fear of being alone, and there's a fear of failure. Fear, it can be the enemy of itself. So if we don't have those fears, we know we're not going to die. Our personality, that part of us that loves to love, loves to laugh, will go on. We are never alone. We may not see them, but those who you have loved and lost, including the pets, they still are here. I believe there's education to be had in heaven. I do. So they're not always hanging around your side. Yes, they're not watching you while you shower. No. But there's no fear of failure either, because everything you experience, even though you might think it's a failure here, it's all education for the soul. So when we can believe in life after death and all of that, suddenly we can take new actions in our life. So I want to leave you and your listeners with just some tips for having a great life. And through what I teach, and even if you never read the book, fine, but to take what I say right now and apply it to your life. So Albert Einstein once said, you can look at the world like everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle.
Wow.
And so change your mind. Don't buy into the earth is flat, life after death isn't real. Think about, once, long ago, this earth was just grass and trees and dirt and water. And out of that, I mean, look around. We're talking on a telephone, and we're not even next to each other.
I know.
You see an airplane flying. I mean, that's a tube flying through the sky. That's a miracle.
Yes.
We're on our cell phones now and accessing the Internet, which, where is the Internet? Who knows? It's a miracle. So start not listening to the voice in your head and start looking for the miracles, even in your relationships, the people you know. Do your best to be in the present moment. Quiet that busy mind. that's where the juicy stuff comes in. I have a website called WeDon'tDie.com.
Okay.
And both my the free audio, How to Survive Grief, is there. And I also created another free audio called Reconnections, which is you close your eyes. You just listen to me for 20 minutes, but you close your eyes, and I get you into that place without that voice speaking. And it's a way to reconnect with our loved ones that have passed away. Puts us in that quiet zone. So that's a tip.
We can do that online. I mean, on your website.
WeDon'tDie.com.
WeDon'tDie.com.
Yep. Yes.
Ooh, I might get the courage to do that.
Yeah, and it's fun. I mean, there's nothing scary about it. It's all love. Here's something else. If you find yourself in a funk or unhappy, or you're having a bad day, take a piece of paper and start writing the things you're grateful for in your life. And while you're writing it, you really have to feel it. So, I mean, even if it's I'm grateful for a home, I'm grateful there's food in my refrigerator, and really start looking. You know, somebody in your life, I'm grateful for my son's laughter. You know, those things will change how you feel. Another thing, if you're not feeling so strong, if you're feeling a little fearful, or I'm not good enough, get that pen out again. Write down what people love about you. What do they love? Oh, they love my sense of humor. You know, and write down some of the things that you've accomplished in your life. See, this voice that I keep talking about has a really sneaky way of making us feel like this world is all that there is, that we're not good enough, that the things we've done in the past, they're no big deal anymore. So write down some of those things that you've done, some of the successes you've had, what people say about you. That is really the person you are, not the junk the little voices saying like you don't matter or be afraid to have a conversation. That's all an illusion. Look for things as a miracle.
Okay. Now, we've got 30 seconds for you. We can get your book at?
You can get it at Amazon.com. You can get it at Barnes & Noble. You can get it at your local bookstore. If they don't have it on hand, they can order it. They can get it.
Okay.
If you want a signed copy from me, you can go to WeDon'tDie.com, and I'll sign one for you and put it in the mail.
All right.
Wherever
I got a signed copy. Oh, Sandra, it was wonderful talking to you today. I really enjoyed this.
Thanks.
And it kind of brought
too.
back some precious feelings in my heart here.
Wonderful. We'll do it again. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for letting me spend the hour with you and your listeners.
Okay. Everybody, you are listening to the Dr. K Show on Radio 1240, WCEM AM, streaming at mtslive.com, and like us on Facebook.